All right, welcome back. It's now for us to shift a bit and talk about matters education, research, innovation, and technology in the country. Just after that, there is nowhere where it is power and research, technology, and innovation are not, or rather, is not there. So today, I'm also joined in studio by Professor Emmanuel Mutisya, who is the chairman of Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. You can shorten this as KenyaAIST. Kenya-AIST, joining me in studio. Prof, welcome to the program. First of all, let's start from where we should. Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. Tell me more about this.
No, thank you very much, Victor. I think, well, I'm grateful first for getting this opportunity to come here and talk to Kenyans about research, innovation, and development. And now the Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, as you put it, KenyaAIST or even KAIST, is a specialized institution, which was sort of conceptualized to address Kenya's development challenges. I think the focus is more on science, technology, and innovation, so that we can grow innovations that will drive Kenya's industrialization or grow the Kenya's industrial base, but also to modernize Kenya and put Kenya at the level of other advanced economies in the world, so that we can sort of compete at that level, the level of countries like Japan, countries like South Korea, countries like China, Europe, and America, and so on and so forth. And now we are starting as a specialized institution or university, meaning that one, we are not sort of anchored at the Ministry of Education. We are administratively under the Ministry of ICT. Now, this idea of the Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology was conceptualized or mooted in 2012, under the Vision 2030, as one of the flagship programs. In 2015, a feasibility study was done to check how visible it is to set up such an institution. In 2019, we got some funding support from the Korean government. That's government-to-government funding, in which the Kenyan government sort of agreed with the Korean government that Kenya was ready to set up a science and technology and innovation only institution in Kenya. And then in 2019, started developing the curriculum. 2020, the contractor was set on the ground in Konza City. And then we are there. We're almost getting finished with the construction process and the equipping. I think by the first week, second week of November, the university will be ready. I think the president is going now to commission it, launch it, and get started with the training process.
Why Konza? Why Konza City or why Konza Metropolis?
Now, Konza, as we all know, Konza is a technopolis. It's the Silicon Savannah of Africa. It is where everything innovation is supposed to be anchored. So we were set there as the anchor institution in terms of research, innovation, in the area of science and technology, so that we can feed into the growth of Konza as a technopolis, in the sense that KenyaAIST is supposed to work with all enterprises that are going to grow out of Konza, so that we can drive innovations, we can commercialize those innovations, and we can grow industries that will not only feed into the Konza economy, but the national economy and also the continental economy. Yes.
Allow me to ask you this question. How unique is this? It sounds to be one of its kind in the country. How unique is it going to be once it's up and running?
No, there are several ways of looking at it. Number one, as I said, it's a postgraduate only university. Meaning that we're only going to focus on research, masters and PhDs. And the areas of study are science-oriented. So we're only focusing on engineering, biotechnology, and any other science-oriented program. We're starting with 7 programs. We're starting with the normal engineering programs, mechanical, civil, electronic, and electrical engineering. And then we have new ones, chemical, nuclear. We have ICT engineering, and we also have biotechnology. Now, this is where we are going to start, but we are going to grow the programs based on emerging issues, because we want to address challenges that are not the old challenges, but new challenges that are emerging as we move into the future. Because when you look at countries that are now leading, in terms of development, you realize that they are utilizing technology, innovation, so on and so forth, to grow their industries. When you talk about artificial intelligence, for example, countries that are going going to control that space are going to control the global economy. And that's why we have the US, that's why we have China, that's why we have other upcoming economies like Korea and so on and so forth. We want Kenya to take this lead, not just in East Africa or Africa, but also to play at the league of other advanced economies in the world. Now, if we want to look at the uniqueness part of it, we want to look at it at different levels. One, we want to recruit outstanding faculty members. You know, the professors that we're going to get are not just going to be, to be recruited from Kenya. We're going to recruit them across board, you know, from Africa and from outside Africa. Ideally, we actually want to get Kenyans who are in leading universities like Harvard, Stanford, you know, University of Tokyo, you know, University of Tsinghua in China, who are in the areas of study that we are undertaking at the KenyaAIST to come and train our scientists, you know, at that level where they train the Americans in Harvard and so on and so forth, so that we can also create a pathway of Kenyans returning from abroad to come and sort of share their knowledge, share their innovations, you know, transfer technology to grow our innovation base in this country.
What is the contribution from the ministry?
The Ministry of ICT, as the Anga Ministry, one, of course, they provide the budgeted support, and of course the linkage with the other government entities, you know, including, of course, working with the Ministry of Education, because we are university. So we are governed under the Universities Act of 2012. So we have not run away from the Ministry of Education. We are just anchored at the Ministry of ICT, but working together with the Ministry of Education to ensure that the quality of education that we drive at the institute is within the standards that have been set by the Ministry of Education and the Commission of University Education in this country. Number two, the Ministry of ICT is also giving us linkages. Ideally, and if I can put it like this, we've been working very closely with the CS and the PS, particularly the PS, Engineer Tanui, who was formerly the CEO of Konza, and who was there when the conceptualization of the KenyaAIST was done. So with the networks that we have with all ICT giants, not just in Kenya, but across the world, it's something that it's feeding into the development process of the Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology.
I mean, this sounds so encouraging, so to speak, but I'm looking at the long-term effect. Once it's up and running, you have got the first lot of graduates, and the third, and, you know, what are we looking at? What's the future of this unique university offering masters and PhD students, and, you know, what is it going to contribute into the national ecosystem?
No, before we even get to that, I think I would add two unique characteristics of the university.
Go ahead.
One of them is, you know, because we have a small cream of students who are going to be enrolled, we would like to get the outstanding students from this country, and of course Kenyans who are outside the country, to come and sort of study at the KenyaAIST. Now, at the starting, or, you know, as we start, we want to provide full scholarships to all the students. So we are providing
full scholarship.
Full scholarship.
Okay.
You know, and you know, the cost per student is going to be around $1 million shillings, around 1.2 million shillings for the 2 years. You know, because of the research sort of orientation that we have as a university. Now, we are talking to the private sector, not just in Kenya but outside, to finance a few of these students. We're talking to the government of Kenya to allocate some component of the budget to scholarships. We're also talking to donors, you know, who have been partners to Kenya in the education space, to also support us in ensuring that we provide scholarship to the students. Now, the professors that I talked about, we also want to give them an outstanding, a very competitive package. We don't want to give them the same rates that they get, that other professors get in other universities in Kenya.
That's attractive.
Now, for that to happen, of course, because you know, packages, salary packages are governed by the SRC in Kenya. We are now trying to work with the other entities, other partners, to see whether we can have a top-up plan, so that if I want to get a professor from Harvard, he comes in feeling that he is properly remunerated in the standards that he would expect to sort of be remunerated. And then finally is the you know, partnership with the private sector. You know, we talk about this theoretically, but in our case, we are even providing space. If, for example, Safaricom wants to come and work with the KenyaAIST, we're going to give them a space in our buildings to work with us and work with the students. If a student creates an innovation, we are going to link them with a private sector player in that space. If it's a semiconductor sort of innovation. We link them with a semiconductor player. Like, well, in Kenya, we have the Savannah semiconductor company, but out there we have companies like Samsung, who are also working with us, who are leading players in the area of semiconductor sort of innovations globally. So these are some of the things that we want to bring into perspective as we get prepared to get started with the training process and research process in our university. Now, over to your question. You see, when the university was conceptualized, it was conceptualized or designed to address Kenya's socio-economic transformation issues. The challenge that we face in sort of improving our economic status, but also, in expanding our industrial base. One of the challenges that we face again is, and when you saw the Gen Zs, they complained about jobs. And jobs come from industries. Because our industrial base is weak, then we have not been able to create jobs for the young men and women in this country. So what we expect from KenyaAIST is to work with our students or our researchers, work with the private sector, grow our innovations into enterprises, and create decent job opportunities for the youth. Now, this would directly feed into the economy, and because we are working with emerging technological advancements, and we are driving, working towards driving, the growth of the science, technology, innovation ecosystem in this country. We expect now to see Kenya modernizing and growing to the levels of advanced economies in this world.
Okay, look, when you talk about science, technology, innovation, research, and all that, and I'm glad you've talked about you're linking the graduates and to the relevant job opportunities, which is very important. So in layman, hakuna kutamak. Hakuna kutamak from school to job. Hakuna kutamak. But then now, when you talk about full scholarship, can I just pick it from A to Z, full scholarship?
Correct. And I think that's one of the most important aspects that we have at the moment. And when we talk to the government, and we did agree on this, we sort of, if you are to get the best students in engineering, if you are to get the best in ICT or in biotechnology, then you have to give them an incentive. That incentive is full scholarship. Otherwise, the same student, if given a scholarship in Japan or in China or in the UK, they will definitely take those scholarships and go study out there. Now, we want to do this so that we can also attract the best. And therefore, our undertaking, and this is also the undertaking of the government of Kenya, is that we are going out there to source out for funds to ensure that we provide this full scholarship to all these students. And let me also say this. In our university, and I think this is, again, one of its kind, because we have built it from the ground to the end. Okay. We have set up everything, all the way from the administrative block to the classrooms, to the equipment, state-of-the-art equipment. All the equipment is coming from outside. The labs are set. We have also set up our accommodation facilities. So the students will have accommodation on site. Professors also have their space. If you come in and you want to do research with us, or you want to train our students, we'll give you accommodation down in Konza. Now, all this will be completed in the next 5 weeks or so. Now, that tells you that we are serious in creating a conducive environment for research in the areas of study that KenyaAIST is going to take lead in this country. We are not doing it alone. Of course, we are working with the other university ecosystem in this country. We are working with all the other universities to ensure that we start packaging Kenya as an attractive destination for students, not just from Kenya, but from outside the country. We are calling it the Africa Premier Institution, actually, of Science, Technology, and Innovation and Research. In that, we want to start, to work with the African Union, work with the African Development Bank, and allocate a number of students, 15% from the African continent, because we also want to promote integration of the continent by ensuring that there is this student mobility from various countries in the continent. Now, these students from outside Kenya, the 15% from Africa, we are talking to the African Development Bank. We are working with other continental bodies who can provide support, financial support to them. We're also allocating 10% to students from outside Africa now. Okay. So we have 75% from Kenya, 15% from the continent, and 10% from outside the continent. Now, this makes the university sort of a center where, one, we promote internationalization of higher education in Kenya, but also we create an opportunity for students from different cultures to learn from one another, and of course drive the kind of development that we want to see, not just in Kenya, but globally.
Prof, somebody is asking me, it looks like a very good idea, but why don't you open it for everyone, postgrad and undergrad?
No,
why postgrad only? I mean,
you see, I think at some point,
it sounds so good to be for the postgrad only.
I think there are two reasons for that. One, yes, we are getting started. As we grow, we are going to expand to various other programs. If the team that we have looks at what we have and realizes that it's important to start undergrad, then we are going to do that. But for now, as per the design report and those the team that conceptualized the university, they agreed that it was important that we start at that level so that we can set the standards.
Yes.
If you bring in 10,000 students now, we'll not be able to create the kind of research and training ecosystem that we want to create at this level, because then we just become any other university in this country. So the one who is asking and the rest of the Kenyans, please allow us to get started. Come there, do your research, do your master's, do your PhD. We'll give you the best that we can. Yeah. And of course, as we move forward, based on the suggestions that we get from Kenyans and other stakeholders, we're going to see what kind of programs we're going to sort of include in the package that we have.
That is answered. Again, is it public or private university?
It's a public university.
Public university.
Yeah.
So tell me, at what point or when are we looking at the first day that you're going to open that to cut that tape, and so that we have the first student walking in?
Good. A number of things have happened. Actually, if it was not for COVID-19, we would have completed the facilities by 2022. But because of COVID, there has been this lag in terms of the construction process. Now we expect to get the facilities handed over to the government of Kenya by December of this year. So the completion is going to be around the first week of November. Now I think we are doing the equipping of the labs, equipping of the accommodation space, and by November we'll have everything set. We get handover of the facilities, and we plan to start the process of recruiting the top-notch professors that we're talking about, and also the students by the first quarter of 2025. Now this means two things. One, because we don't have the professors yet. We are actually in the process of recruiting them. We cannot recruit a research student without a professor, because it's a professor who sort of pinpoints the kind of student that he wants to be part of his training team. So once you do that, we now get immediately to the process of now recruiting the students, and then we get started immediately after that, because then we don't have to have facilities, have equipment, and then we have we do not have the training process taking place immediately.
Allow me to ask you, the Kenya-AIST administration is quite keen on ICT and the super highway to in technology, innovation, and all that. How is it going to contribute into the government's agenda idea of stretching the ICT super highway once this is up and running?
No, I mean that to me is a very important question. In fact, our alignment, as I said, we aligned within the bigger framework of Vision 2030. Certainly, we are also aligned with the bottom-up economic transformation agenda of this country, which again, has identified ICT and the digital economy as one of the key pillars. There are a number of things that we're going to do there. One, we are building capacities for the people who are going to develop that superhighway that you are talking about. We are building capacities for the people who are going to develop the kind of innovations that are in the strategic plan that was approved by the Minister of ICT early this year. So that bit of innovation will come from the Kenya-AIST. We are also doing research to drive or to inform the development of the ICT sector in this country. We don't just want to do ICT development blindly. We just don't want to start talking about innovations within the ICT frame blindly. We want to inform the ministry on the kind of focus areas that are ideal to drive the kind of development that we want to see in this country. So, and I think fortunately, as I said, we are under the Ministry of ICT. So our agenda, our strategic plan is aligned with the bigger plan within the Ministry of ICT, and we work very closely. As I said, Engineer John Tanu is the PS, has been a key player in the progress and the process that we have seen over the last 2-3 years in the establishment of the Kenya the KenyaAIST. Now, finally, our contribution to the space of the Gen Zs. We saw the Gen Zs sort of putting a lot of complaints on the table. Yeah. And that is why we are saying that the young men and women who are going to train in this university, one, will get full scholarship. Those are the Gen Zs. We are going to provide space for them to innovate, to incubate their ideas and grow these ideas into industries. Now, they will create jobs for themselves. They will also create jobs for others. We are again feeding into the bottom-up economic transformation agenda of creating jobs for the youth, skilling the youth again, and of course doing research around the areas of focus within the bigger agenda, not just the ICT part of it, but also the other 4 pillars within the framework of the better.
Prof, you're trying to appreciate the innovation, the creative mind of Gen Z and Kenyans in general. Allow me to ask you, so at the end of the day, we have this aspect of brain drain. Correct. Kenya's getting trained, and then, we do brain drain and brain exportation to other countries. Is it going to slow down that? Are we going to see?
I think I will turn that into brain circulation. If you take it as brain drain, I will get worried, because I trained in Sweden. And I did my PhD in Japan.
Yes.
And I started my professional career actually in Japan. Now, I am back in Kenya, to contribute to Kenya's development. So, whatever I learned in Japan is actually exactly what I'm giving back to the country. So, I think we should focus more on how to circulate our brains, globally, because the globe is now a small village.
Yeah.
So that we can also learn from other countries. India today is a leading medical space. Globally. Why? Because Indians are everywhere. They go out there, they come back to India to develop the economy. KenyaAIST, and I think it's more than that to note this, that we are actually modeled after the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. Now, KenyaAIST has been sort of the home of diaspora of Korea from outside the world. Now, they create opportunities for the diaspora that has gone to other parts, so that they can also come back and give back to the site. Because if we do not learn from Korea, or we do not learn from China, or Japan, or UK, then we might as well not be able to compete with the best in this world. So I would urge our people to focus more on what we get when we send our Kenyans outside the country. Because at the end of the day, and this is a special characteristic of Kenyans,
yes,
they always go out, but they always come back. When they come back, they contribute to the foundation of growth.
You went to China, you did your PhD, worked there, and came back home. Now you want to invest back home. Home is home. So, as we finalize, so the first cohort of students to start streaming in, when are we looking at this?
Yeah, we are looking at the first quarter of next year.
Okay.
We want to sort of open up by January of this coming year. And of course, we are working with partners, because at some level, we will work with the leading private sector players in this country.
Okay.
We'll just tell them, please get us one of your staff whom we want to sort of support to come and train with us. After 2 years, they will come back and support you. Or, sponsor a student out there who once they are done with their studies, will now be able to come back and contribute to the development of your company. Why we are saying this is because ours is to drive a knowledge economy, an innovation-led economy in this country. And to do that, we must ensure that our industries are knowledge-based and innovation-based, and that is what we bring. So if we work with our plan, then by April of next year, we should now be in serious business of training the best in this country.
Give me a quick rundown. Some of the in terms of academics now, the initial departments that you'll start with.
Yeah, we have 7 programs. As I call them 7 flagship programs.
Yes.
We have mechanical engineering, then we have civil engineering, we have electrical and electronics engineering, we have ICT engineering, we have chemical engineering, and then we have biotechnology. And specifically, we are going to start with agricultural biotechnology for the food part of it. Why we are focused on these areas is because when you look at them, you realize that there is a component that is critical in driving our economy to the next level. For example, ICT. ICT, we're talking about artificial intelligence, which is the thing of today. If we are left behind in terms of AI, then we might as well just forget being among the best, globally. Yes. We're also talking about robotics. We are talking about semiconductors. The chips that we see in our phones, we want to start producing them in this country. We want to set up actually a sort of a semiconductors factory or industry in Konza. We're talking about biotechnology. We're working with IVI, International Vaccine Institute, to sort of develop vaccines and do research around vaccines. We are now working with them to also look at establishing a vaccine industry in Konza. Why we are doing this is because when you saw the COVID-19, you realize that Africa had one challenge, that we only produce 1% of the total vaccines in the world. And for us to now address future pandemics, we must start producing our own vaccines. South Africa is doing that. Now Kenya is taking that, and the AU, Africa CDC, is driving the process of ensuring that we produce our own vaccines from the continent to feed into the challenges, or to address, or to develop homegrown solutions to the challenges that we face as a continent and in Kenya as a country.
Another question here, finally. Can a student, postgrad student, transfer from University A and come to KAIST?
That's a good question. I think
a continuing student.
I think that's a conversation that we need to have with the University Council and my board.
Yes.
But as I said, we said that we are looking for outstanding students. We are going.
Okay.
So,
outstanding in
if the student is outstanding, of course, the same can. Well, in a way, join us. But these are conversations that we need to sort of have as a board or as a council to ascertain the conditions that are required for a person to transfer from one university.
In football, they call it transfer window.
Transfer window. Transfer window.
That's what you call transfer window. The president must be so happy about this. Okay. And so you said the South Korea, KAIST and Kenya will be collaborating. Actually, they're in collaboration to make sure this one stands out.
Yes, in June, we were in Korea for the Korea-Africa Summit with the President of Kenya.
Yes.
And of course, one of the things that we did was to sign, in front of the President of Kenya, an MOU with Korea-KAIST and the International Vaccine Institute, now to develop the process of training the best in this country. So we are partnering. Our partnerships will also be with the best. We are, we are talking to Harvard, we are talking to Stanford, we are talking to the University of Tokyo, we are talking to the University of Science and Technology of China, the leading sort of universities in the area of the programs that we are going to undertake in university. And specifically, as I said, if you go to the area of electrical engineering, we want to talk about semiconductors.
Great.
We want to establish a semiconductor industry. We want to ICT engineering. We want to talk about artificial intelligence. We are talking about robotics. We want to talk about big data and so on and so forth. IoT, because these are the areas that will drive the development of tomorrow. And we don't want to be left behind. So these partnerships that we're going to build should help us as a university and also as a country to ensure that we are at par with the rest of the world and the top of the world in the areas of study that we have.
My colleagues will ask me to ask you this question: why not media engineering? Why not media engineering?
No, I think it's important. We'll continue having a conversation about the same. And as I said,
we need to.
We are starting now, but we are going to review our programs in 3 years. We are going to include more emerging engineering areas, including space science, because we also want to go to the moon, or even aeronautical engineering, and so on and so forth, so that we want to remain in tandem with the emerging science, technology, innovation areas.
Thank you so much. I think we've had a very good discussion here, and all the best. I believe by the time that the president will be there to officially commission and open this university, we'll be right there with you as we celebrate this milestone. All right, so that's where we wrap it up. So I'll be talking about enhancing research, innovation and technology with Prof.Emmanuel Mutisya, who is the chairman of Kenya Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. Prof, thank you so much for joining us. All right, let's take a break. GMK continues shortly after this. Good morning.